Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth.
Today's game is Avowed. Obsidian returns to both RPGs and the Pillars of Eternity world, but my question is, do they still got it? Let's find out. Avowed is a first or third person open zone action RPG with a focus on exploration and combat, and where everyone's gonna play as a mage. You are a godlike envoy from the Empire sent to a small island nation of melting pot style outcasts to investigate a plague that's consuming people and turning them into fungus, essentially. Next thing you know, a supernatural being between life and death is talking to you with seemingly ulterior motives, so you have to decide who to trust and who not to trust in your quest to purge the island of blight. The story is interesting enough with the mystery of the plague and who the supernatural entity is pushing me forward, though overall it did end up being more set dressing than a highlight. Same goes for your companions, which while having Garrus from Mass Effect reincarnated as a blue guy is awesome, they generally aren't super interesting like, say, Outer Worlds. Speaking of Outer Worlds, this game is structured similarly, just on a bigger scale. You have 4 chunky maps to explore, somewhere between open world sized and open zone sized, filled to the brim with secrets, hidden loot, bosses, side quests, and more. They also all have a big city to get lost in, which you will frequently. Progression consists of both leveling up and investing stat points and skill points, which you can reset for cheap, and more importantly, upgrading your gear. Areas of maps and each new world has a soft level gate based on gear progression, which adds some artificial corralling. Combat is definitely the highlight. It's fast and high energy, with you needing to manage stamina as you dodge, block, parry, or throw spells. Magic's definitely the most interesting, as you can not only learn spells on your own, but equip tomes in lieu of a shield that each contain 3 spells to add to your arsenal. Being able to mix tomes with, say, guns or swords makes multi-classing easy. As expected, zones have a primary quest line that'll push you through most of the important parts of the map, but there's also things like bounties, side quests, secret totems, treasure maps, and more to keep you exploring in the world engaging. Thankfully, you can warp to any fast travel point from anywhere. And really, that's the gist of Avowed, and if it sounds pretty standard, that's because it is. It's an open world ARPG with light role-playing elements with a focus on exploration and combat. What I like about Avowed? Well, the combat, as mentioned, is probably my favorite part of the gameplay, especially if you pick a mage or a ranged class. Those grimoires combined with learning spells meant I experimented a lot in multi-classing, and experimentation was further encouraged by the relatively cheap cost to reset all your stuff. Additionally, the open world is addicting in the right ways, filled to the brim with little side secrets to find, uniques to uncover, hidden bosses and challenges to unearth, and more. I wanted to explore each area 100%. And lastly, I love the way this game looks. Seeing the Pillars of Eternity world from a first-person perspective was a treat, and the somewhat exaggerated and vibrant visual style really makes the world memorable and pop. When it comes to the bad, the lack of meaningful decisions or logical ways to talk your way out of situations was unfortunate. I never once felt my decisions had long-reaching effects on the world, which unlike Obsidian's other games, made those choices feel pointless. Additionally, the writing here is surprisingly mediocre, mostly due to it being plagued with overwhelming expository dialogue in nearly every conversation, and while some parts were definitely more interesting than others, I finished it thinking it was just okay. And lastly, there's definitely some Obsidian jank here. The upgrade material economy is borked, which means you're going to have to commit early to weapons. Areas are heavily gated by that gear, with the progression feeling very gamey. Enemies don't respawn, which makes revisiting areas dull, and so on. It's streamlined, but perhaps too much. As you know, I rate games on a 3-point scale: must play, maybe consider, and don't bother, and I struggled a bit with my final score here. On one hand, it lacks core stuff that I feel make Obsidian games what they are, like meaningful dialogue choices, branching paths, and a rich story. But on the other hand, the action was engaging, the open world was fantastic, and I really couldn't stop playing. It sucked me in. I think if you're looking to buy Avowed, this is definitely a harder sell, but if you already have Game Pass, or just want to sign up for a month, I do think you should absolutely check it out. It's a fantastic time, but you will have to keep your expectations in check. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you played Avowed, do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you mid on it? Let me know what you think in the comments, but regardless, go out there and give it a look.